So I've pretty much finished the picture. I'll talk about what I'll do, but anyway, I colored in, this is watercolor, and I colored in, it was very hard to color that small, but I wanted to have pictures of the kids in this, in these two frames, and then I thought, oh, well, it'd be kind of fun if Max the parrot was getting in the way of them taking pictures of the kids. Like here, the kid is unwrapping a gift, and Max is like, I want to be right there. You know, so I thought that'd be kind of funny.
She'd think that was funny herself.
Yeah, she'd think it was funny too. And I brought that Christmas dinner home for James, and Angel and the others got to eat the turkey. And then I just fried up some onions and plantains to go with it, and there's some soup for James with some broccoli and cauliflower and stuff like that in it. And Oppenheimer got top of the stack, so James will probably talk about that quite a bit. North Face second, Pinocchio, Red Sparrow, and then Nancy drew the final season. So I'll talk a little bit about this stuff, and then James will probably want to I spilled some of the soup on the on the table, and the top has got, or the bottom of it, I guess, got a little bit spilled on. But anyway, Oppenheimer. It was over 2 hours, I think. I'll try to find 3 hours 1 minute, so quite long. And honestly, there's a lot of story there, though. So there's a lot of big name actors in here: Emily Blunt, Matt Damon, Robert Downey Jr. And I don't know this Cillian Murphy. I don't know this person, but anyway, yeah, they did a great job. There's a lot of story, and it's worth telling. So anybody who's even remotely interested in learning about this stuff.
So what did they say about, what's their final judgment on it? It almost looks a bit like him, not thin enough, but yeah.
Yeah, well, final judgment, I guess they were saying that the one guy was getting a whole bunch of, I guess, people from different agencies or whatever after him, even though he's already supplied them with, like, he's fulfilled his mission as far as what they wanted him to do, and yet they're getting people after him to destroy him, take away his security clearance and stuff like that. And it in the movie they're saying it was due to this one guy. He'd publicly embarrassed him, and so
was that guy's name Edward Teller? Did he have big bushy eyebrows?
I don't know. But anyway,
they were both Jewish.
And so the one guy, he's, you know, revenge is best served cold kind of thing. He just waits it out and gets people after him. And then eventually, Oppenheimer they end up treating him well in the end. But they're saying that it was just to make themselves feel good, not to do anything about him. Does that make any sense?
It makes sense. You're describing the way Hollywood would do it, the way lefties would say it, the way liberals would say it, the way social democrats.
That's what the story was, basically.
So Robert Oppenheimer's wife was a common card-carrying. I think
in the movie they say she had been, but she was no longer. It was a long time ago, and it was when she thought that it was just domestic socialism and not like some crazy widespread world tentacle communism or something. I'm just giving you the movie.
I know you're not that gullible, but how do you know when a card-carrying member of the Communist Party stops being a card-carrying member?
Yeah. If you're serious enough to be a card-carrying member of any party, because I'm not a card-carrying member of any party, so...
Me neither. I can remember the NDP back in the day, at least one guy who was working with him was encouraging me to run for them. I've got better things to do. Nowadays, if I'd done that, I would have been embarrassed.
All right.
But actually, the NDP's changed. After you finish this, we're going to
go back to open. Okay.
Get ready, folks.
So, North Face, a true story. It has like a Nazi symbol in the O, and I think they just decided to bring the whole Nazi element into this so that it would be more saleable. Because honestly, it's a mountain climbing movie.
Weird.
Yeah, so in the back it says, in 1936, the Nazi Party was fervently demonstrating its superiority to the rest of the world, turning its attention toward the unclimbable north face of the Eiger. Blah, 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 blah. So.
They love Eiger because it's got 2 G's in German crossword puzzles.
It has 2 G's?
So if you're doing a German crossword...
It only has 1 G in this rating.
Did I say...
You were 2 E's.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well anyway, it's a very beautiful mountain climbing movie. If you will have to read some subtitles, like all subtitles. But besides that, you see some beautiful scenery. It's worth watching. If you're wanting to watch some sort of a Nazi movie, you will be disappointed because this really doesn't have anything to do with that.
No.
So.
The Germans love that mountain. It's not just because it was 2 E's.
Pinocchio. So this one was put out in 2022. And this has 2 discs and a booklet. And there's a lot of beautiful pictures in the booklet, whatever. But I did write some notes. So, because I didn't want to miss anything. The voices, Ewan McGregor, Ron Perlman, Tilda Swinton, Kate Blanchett. I think John Turturro was listed too. I can't remember. I liked the animation and twists of the story. I didn't like the music. If you are going to write a successful musical, the rhythm of the language used for the lyrics must work with the rhythm of the music. The accents were sickeningly wrong in the lyrics. You may be thinking, many people have had success with poorly constructed lyrics with accents in the wrong places. Many have had financial success marketing songs with incorrectly accented lyrics. We were talking about the Little Mermaid song a while ago, and they kind of get away with it in that Disney movie because it's somebody with a foreign accent who's singing, and you go, okay, well, sometimes people who are from away, they don't put the accents in the right places or sometimes they're from away and those accents are for words that we say like garage or garage, or whatever. They're in different places. So, they kind of got away with it there. And anyway, many have had success marketing all sorts of junk products that others bought and wrapped up as gifts that will soon be seen for what they are and tossed. It's Christmas. Merry Christmas.
It's topical, yeah.
Yeah. Why keep paying for trash? People do, right? Mm-hmm. One song that almost works with poorly accented lyrics is If I Had $1 Million by the Bare Naked Ladies. Haven't you always wanted a monkey? Haven't you? I mean, it's really bad, right? And it's clearly bad. You really notice it. Mm-hmm. But why does it almost work?
Well,
the song is a joke, performed by a band that's a joke. There weren't any ladies in the band, and thankfully the men in the band always performed well clothed.
Especially Stephen Page. Keep it on, Stephen.
So, I mean, I think almost every Canadian loved watching that Canadian band perform. It was great. Or even hearing that song. Even with Haven't.
There was a right-wing politician who wanted to stop them from performing one thing. He was saying it was politically incorrect.
For what?
Well, talking about bare naked ladies.
Oh, that's great marketing.
I know, but
especially since there's no ladies in the band, and you don't want to see those guys naked. Yeah. Or well, some people maybe do. That's kind of mean.
The right-wing politician kind of had a point. I mean, the people who supported the bare naked ladies were politically correct, and they would use little excuses like that to shut down people they didn't like.
Yeah. But anyway, I mean, there's great lines in that song. And the fact that the rhythm doesn't work almost makes the song work better, because I mean, these guys, they're just presented as average Joe kind of guys. They eat macaroni, and what would they do if they had $1 million? Well, they'd just eat more of it, right?
That's
or
right.
whatever, right? Like, it's great. So, anyway, number 2, what I didn't like. It's an Italian story, yet Pinocchio and others had British accents. Geppetto made wooden clogs for his first son Carlo to wear. What? In Italy?
Yeah, maybe, I don't know.
Seems weird. And Geppetto already was old with white hair when Carlo was alive. Number 3, in this film, the young boys were handed guns and gas masks and sent into battle. I know Hitler was sending children off to die, but was Mussolini doing that also? I should point out that this Pinocchio story was set, it started out in 1919, I think they said. Anyway.
So Mussolini didn't really have a chance for a last stand. The Italians surrendered. They basically had like a revolution against
Yeah,
them.
I'd never heard about children going into battle in Italy, so anyway.
Anyway, they surrendered, and then the Germans invaded and took over all of Italy that hadn't been conquered by the Allies.
There's too much violence against children suggested to market this to children, yet I doubt many adults would tolerate the poor lyrical rhythm. Number 4, I didn't like the sea monster. I saw no point to it having been changed from a whale to a monster. Were the artists unable to make a whale?
Yeah.
Number 5, the booklet and second disc were a waste. They were just stupid. What's the point? So, honestly, I think as much as that, they really did a great job with the animation in that, it's a bust, as far as I'm concerned. I don't think that'll have the staying power that Disney's Pinocchio did, even though this animation's way better. The music's not better. I can't remember a single line of any song, or I couldn't even sing you the melody, and the melodies were okay, but I can't remember them. I just watched it today, this morning. That's what I did. Watch Pinocchio. Can't remember. Anyway, Red Sparrow. Who doesn't love seeing Jennifer Lawrence? And I've watched this movie before, but I'd forgotten it, so watched it again. And if you like spy sort of things, if you want to watch Russian, American spy, whatever.
So it's kind of back from the Cold War or something like that?
I don't know when it's supposed to be set. I couldn't really tell you. I have no idea. She was a ballerina, and then she became anyway.
A spy for the West?
Well, no, it's actually a really interesting story.
Mm-hmm.
There's some twists, so you gotta.
Okay. So you don't want to
watch.
give it away?
I'm not gonna
Yeah.
give it away.
Mhm.
Nancy Drew, the final season.
Oh.
Terrible. I had hoped it would be better, because the last one I watched, I thought, okay, well, they're starting to make it a bit better. No, I'll read you my notes I put. 1, the actors in this shouldn't have tried to show their versatility as actors in the body swap episode, and the writers should have known the limitations of what they had to work with by then. There's no excuse for it. I mean, I knew these people couldn't act watching it. Surely the writers, haven't they been watching the final work? You know what ends up happening? They don't do that. Number 2, the last episode was so bad that it made the viewers thankful that they wrapped up this series. The sequence of events was poorly planned near the end. The mob wants to kill the witch, yet she runs right out towards them to escape the fire and just stands there in front of them. They hadn't had their minds magically washed yet, so why didn't they try to kill her? It makes no sense. I mean, they went to the work to try to burn her house. There's a chickadee right there behind you. See that?
Behind?
Right there. He was eating them while he's in the tree now, pecking that one.
There you go.
Yep. Also, it dragged on. Who cares what the characters planned on doing after they left town in separate directions? We don't care where they're going. We're just glad they can't stay here. Maybe the actors should work actual 12-hour days in a restaurant kitchen. Oh, I put that in because at the end, one of Nancy Drew's clan, she's going to law school or something like that, and she had an interview, and she lost her cool, which I don't think anybody would want somebody in. If you're in an interview and you lose your cool and you start blah, 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 you're not suitable for law. You can't lose your cool.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta keep a straight face when you're telling a lie. So.
Yeah, you can't lose your cool like that. So she lost her cool, and she got in because she was saying, I managed to study up for this while I was working 12-hour days and this and that. And I mean, they've made jokes in the past. I think it was the second season or something. They were making jokes about doesn't anyone work around here kind of thing, because they're meeting up in the restaurant that they work in, that they collect wages from, but they're always doing something else. They're finding these.
There are off times. I mean, I used to hang around Tom's Pizza. There were times when there was a lot of shooting the breeze.
Anyway, so you wanted to talk about Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
All right, so here we go. I'll set it up so people know what you're talking about. Go ahead.
Okay. Oppenheimer was at the very least a fellow traveler. I suspect he was, whether or not he was a card-carrying member of the Communist Party, he was a member of the Communist Party in his last little heart, until he died. From what I can tell, he and 3 other folks involved in the project, including Niels Bohr, and what's the name of that little guy who thought up the idea of the chain reaction, little Hungarian fellow, I'm missing on his name. At any rate, Enrico Fermi, that little guy, and 4th person, not just Klaus Fuchs. He was a foxy individual, and Fuchs in German means fox. Who was caught red-handed, I guess, and convicted. He basically got a slap on the wrist. He was responsible for helping turn the atomic bomb over to I think history will show that he was the worst mass murderer in the history of the world, Joseph Stalin. They turned the atomic bomb over to them. They were lefties, and they trusted Stalin more than they did the Americans. They didn't want the Americans to have a monopoly on the atomic bomb. They knew more about this than the elected individuals, elected representatives in the United States and Great Britain. You can't have intellectuals stomping around pretending they know better than elected individuals. They might. In this case, they didn't. They were absolutely clueless about the nature of communism, the nature of capitalism, and the nature of democracy. Absolutely clueless, stupid individuals. I don't know if they're turning the bomb over, allow the Chinese communists to take over China. Absolutely shameful. Now, apparently Oppenheimer was quite bright, so a lot's been done to try and blacken the name and even the figure of the guy who spearheaded getting Oppenheimer's security clearance withdrawn. The guy is Edward Teller, and I think he was a Hungarian Jew. Oppenheimer was Jewish. I'm not sure Oppenheimer with a name like that. Whereas Teller means plate in German. It's a German name. Oppenheimer, strictly speaking, in modern day German. I don't know if it means anything. It probably means it's probably something like a place name. It could be some sort of dialect or something like that. Heimer is something like home dweller. Heim is cognate with English home. And when Stanley Kubrick portrayed Oppenheimer, some people claim he was portraying a few other people. He had Peter Sellers play the role and called him Dr. Strangelove. Dr. Strangelove. And he's portrayed as being a Nazi. Something, you know, like he's doing the Heil Hitler. He can't stop his hand from doing that. I don't think Teller would have been very enthused about Hitler. Why? Apparently he was Jewish. Yeah. I said enough about that. Yeah. So, Teller eventually supported Reagan in the Star Wars initiative. And people were going around saying, Star Wars can't be done. They can kind of do it now. So that was a big fat lie. Eventually be able to do the Star Wars thing, kind of the way it was envisioned. They could have maybe done it back then. I don't know if they would have had enough computer power. But to a large extent, it depends on how much money you're willing to spend. And I was against it then, and I was wrong. Person has to admit when they're wrong. They had the wrong people paying for it. I mean, America, before the Reagan administration, was a creditor nation. Apparently a strong creditor nation. Now it's a strong debtor nation. What happened is people give Reagan credit for winning the Cold War. The main people responsible for winning the Cold War were the Saudis. The Saudis were fighting the Cold War. Kind of. They were not very reliable allies. They were fighting against the Jews. How much time?
About 6 minutes or 7.
Okay. They were fighting against the Jews at the same time.
7.
And so unreliable allies. Anyone who believes in democracy is going to support the Jews at the against Arabs, against Muslims, etc., etc., etc. And not just against Nazis, not just against commies. So the Saudis flooded the oil market with oil in the 80s. And a lot of people I didn't realize it back then. Russia was a huge producer of oil even back then. I'm an exporter.
Hey, sweetie.
And it went a long way towards ruining their economy. They weren't able to keep up with the Western economy. But the other thing is Reagan forced the Russians. The Russians kept on saying they're all about peace, you know, but they wanted their weapons to get through. They didn't want their weapons to get stopped by the Americans. So they went, I gather, on a spending spree on the military. That's a stupid idea. They're supposed to show that communism could survive in one country, and it did a god-awful job of doing that. But you know, the Brezhnev era was a time of stagnation. The Gorbachev era was a time of, well, retrenchment. They were going backwards. Now, so Reagan had all the spending on the military and stuff like that. He did it on the backs of not just the poor, but the middle class. And he cut back, while he's increasing this spending immensely, he's cutting back the taxes paid by rich people. So the United States won the Cold War largely on the backs of the poor, the lower and the middle classes of the United States, because they borrowed, the lower and the middle classes of the United States are still paying for the Cold War. They're still winning it. Shame on you, Ronald Reagan, wherever your miserable shade is hanging around. And I can assure you, I know you're not in heaven. You're an evil person. No, evil is relative. I mean, he might be in the first circle of hell, or the second circle of hell. The people he was fighting against, the commies, are down in the nether reaches. Some of them might actually be beyond the ninth circle, which is all, as I gather, that, or as I remember, that Dante envisioned. They might be in the 10th circle. It might be the briquettes that are burning everyone else on top of them. Anyway, it's thank heavens they won the Cold War. It shouldn't have been won on the backs of the poorer people in the United States. You know, like you get right-wingers, you know, like the capitalist guy, capitalist apologists going around, oh my heavens, the United States is before COVID. I don't know what it's like. It's the highest debt ever. Yeah, the American population is significantly higher, or was before COVID, than it was during World War II. What matters is not the total debt, but it's the per capita debt. You listening, David Frum, whatever your name is, son of Barbara Frum? The United States had a higher per capita debt rate at the end of World War II than it did at the end of the Cold War. Huh? You never heard about that. What happened? Well, I am telling you. What the Truman administration did was they actually taxed the rich people in the United States a little wee bit. Whereas Ronald Reagan stopped taxing them, basically. We were watching a show, documentary, a while back. It featured Warren Buffett. And he was complaining about the tax rate he had to pay. It was absolutely awful. They had another guy who was complaining, whining, and, we'll say female dogging it about the taxes he had to pay. He had to pay 8% tax. And, oh, that was awful. You know, you get a middle-class person and 8%, they'd love it. 8%, and the guy's complaining. He was multimillionaire, could be a billionaire. Warren Buffett, he had a higher tax rate, and boy, he was complaining. 13%. He was complaining about how little he paid. That's ridiculous. A multi-billionaire getting taxed at a 13% rate. They don't need that money, and people go around, you know, like...
so many farmers around here, they're like, yeah, we should pay flat tax. It should be a flat tax rather than percentage or whatever, because they don't want to pay as much, right?
Stupid idiots.
They make so much money and they don't want to pay. But that's not a wise idea.